Real news. Honest and fun political talk weekly on the line 90.7 FM.
Yeah, we'll start off with the impeachment hearings that have been going on over the past few days. I'm not going to lie, I have not followed this that much. I don't think most Americans have either. I don't think most people care.
No,
but
I haven't either.
Yeah, see, exactly. I think
following a little kid's temper tantrum at like Chuck E. Cheese, it's just crying and screaming, and all they're gonna do is get like kicked out of the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's not Trump that's gonna be kicked out; it's gonna be the people throwing the temper tantrum.
Well, I think there was only one part that stood out to me that kind of just shut this whole thing down pretty much and showed that this is just a witch hunt, as Trump says, is when Representative Chris Stewart asked the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovankovich, I think that's how you say her name, he asked her like two questions, and in 30 seconds, he got like, everybody's been wasting hours to try and get answers, and he got it in just 30 seconds. He asked her, do you have any information regarding presidents accepting, bribes? And she says no. Do you have any evidence of any criminal activity from the president? No. That's it. It's done. It should be, but it's not going to be. But to me, that's it. That's all you need right there.
Well, I mean, pretty much everyone so far, all of the witnesses they have, and I think from what I can see, all of the witnesses that they're going to have look like none of them are going to have firsthand knowledge of really anything. Like, we're talking maybe not even secondhand. Like, maybe secondhand. I heard from a friend who heard it from a friend who.
Sounds like third hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this whole thing.
Well, it sounds like an REO Speedwagon song. Like, what the?
Well, what's funny too is that they were all going out saying that, these are going to be our star witnesses. They're going to get Trump. They came up with nothing pretty much. And then you had the president of Ukraine say there was no quid pro quo. But now the Democrats are changing the terminology. You got to look at the language here, because I think that's honestly the only thing that's kind of interesting. Is they're not calling it a quid pro quo anymore. They're calling it bribery. They're changing the terms.
That's what the Democrats and leftists, they love to do that. They'll change the language of something around the last minute. It's like, what was it? You can't be like, you can't be racist if you're, black or something. Well, yeah, you can, but we changed the definition of racism to be, power plus privilege.
Yeah.
They'll do stuff like that all the time. They'll be like, no one's normal. And like I had a sociology professor at Penn State. She was a complete whack job. Not at main campus. She was at one of the other ones. Like, she went off and I basically tried to explain to her what normal meant. She's like, that's not what we mean in psychology. Normal doesn't exist. I was like, well, then why do you even call it normal if it doesn't exist?
Sociology is a piece of crap, let me tell you. There's some.
Did I not say it?
Yeah.
Did I not say that earlier?
Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder on this one, Phil.
Look, you should have listened to me from the start. No, I'll tell you, look, and I said it from the start. Okay, basic terminology when it originally came out, right, was actually very, helpful. It's educational, right? Something to learn about. Anything beyond that, though, all the modern stuff that we're learning here from sociology, it's nothing. It's really nothing.
Well, and I'll say two things. Number one, a good example of a term that I've gotten into arguments with recently is the term conservatism. We'll talk about the Groypers and Charlie Kirk, but I feel like the new right changed the meaning of conservatism, and then now the Groypers are trying to change it back. And you keep having people argue if you're a conservative or not, and it's kind of silly at the end of the day because, I don't think the label, it does mean something, but at the same time, it's just a stupid label. And it's hard to say, because if you disagree with one thing with conservatives, you're not conservative now. I would say it's only the fundamentals, which, then we're going to have disagreements about that. But I feel like that's something you can at least hammer down on and find something everyone can agree on. But also sociology, I know, Phil, you saw a little bit of this. I was in Sam Richards' class. And we had a thing where, and I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a very good idea where he talked about a couple important, relevant news stories, DACA and the Trump impeachment thing, and he gave sort of a TLDR on it. He explained it. He gave some background on it, explained where both sides kind of align on it or why there's controversy on these issues. I thought it was a great idea, and he did a decent job. I think it was pretty fair. But there was one moment, because he brought 3 volunteers up on a table, and we had these like cards, a green one, a yellow one, and a red one. The green one's like, yep, you're good, keep going. The yellow one's like, okay, I get the point, come on, move along. Or, maybe there's a question there. And the red one's like, stop, I got a question, stop right there. And I thought he did pretty good, too. At one point, he called Stephen Miller a racist. He said Stephen Miller has racist bones in his body. Or something along the lines of that. I whipped that red card up. I was like, no. You're going to have to back that up. That's a clear opinion. That's something that's way more skewed to the left. Like, let's pull it in from there. And he then said, he's like, I shouldn't have said that. It was thoughtless. I don't like the guy, but, I shouldn't be using the R word. And he gave me a high five, which, look, I think it's good that he acknowledged he shouldn't have said that. But I listened to his podcast online, and his assistant said that, Steve Miller is racist because of these Breitbart emails. But then his assistant said he hasn't even read the email, so I'm like, okay. And that was dug up by the SPLC, so we all know how they have just a stellar reputation.
Yeah, they're not very good. They're not very good at all.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, okay. You got a little Twitter hate for that one, like defending Steve Miller.
How dare I?
And I'm like, well, no, it's like, how do you know he's racist? Okay, so they give the Breitbart emails, so they have the news articles. They brought the news articles, so I actually read them, and they gave examples that weren't really racist. Like he defended, or he didn't defend the removal of the U.S. flag. Like he had a problem with the removal of the Confederate flag after Charlottesville or something like that. I think there's something along those lines. I'm like, no. Well, I mean, there's some people that see it as a racist emblem, but then there's some people that see it as, Southern, other something. It doesn't necessarily equal. One doesn't necessarily equal the other. And they're giving these loose excuses or reasons as to why they think that he's right. Like, look, that's not going to cut it. If you, especially when you never met the guy, you never, you don't know him personally, you really haven't heard anything that he said to be racist, like anything that came out of his mouth, and you didn't read the emails. So why are you calling him a racist?
Exactly. And that's all I said was, I stopped him. I said, you said this, correct? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, can you provide some context why you're saying that? Because I'm not there. I wasn't there to defend Steve Miller or to trash him. I was just saying, if you're going to throw an opinion like that in there, or a big name, like a big, what would you call it? Like a big, like sort of blanket statement, like somebody's a racist.
Well,
you got to back that up.
It's like not just an accusation; it's a potentially career-ending accusation. Like saying that someone is a rapist, or maybe not quite along those same lines, but it gets up there. Like someone's he's a sexual assaulter. He's a pedophile. He is pedophile. That's basically the same sort of thing when you call someone a racist. Like it means so much today. Like if you're a racist, it's a lot more difficult for you to go and find a job. People will go and actively try to harm you. It puts a bounty on your head if you're really considered racist.
It's a good way to put it. It does put a bounty on your head.
Yeah.
And I don't I read some of those emails actually in his class on Tuesday when I was sitting there kind of like, yeah, this is going on. I was reading it because I was reading in my previous class. And given the SPLC and how they frame this, the one thing, they make some big stretches here. For example, they're I think he was at Duke. I forget where he went to college. And they said, he was in the same conservative club as Richard Spencer. And I look at that, I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. They then go on to say, that he hosted a debate with Richard Spencer, and they worked together to make a debate happen. I don't even.
Well, they're not yelling at CNN for having him as a contributor.
Yeah, as we talked about last week. And I think what's really they don't talk about there is that was Richard Spencer an openly white nationalist at the time? Because look, I know people that come to various political club meetings here that are considered by some to be alt-right or far-right or white nationalists, some of which may be true, some of which may not be true. But they just show up to your meetings. Like, what are you going to do? You can't stop them. It's a public, meeting in a public building on a public university. You're not going to say, oh, gee, we can't have you here because I don't want to associate with you just sitting in my meeting or sitting at my event. It's ridiculous. Like, it's just so stupid. It's guilt by association and barely any association.
Yeah. So if hanging out, if knowing Richard Spencer or working with him kind of makes you a racist, then by logic, wouldn't Jake Tapper be a racist by that same definition, right? Because they did work together indirectly at CNN, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
It's okay when CNN does it.
Of course
they're
it is.
liberals, and they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and that was like one of the things I noticed in this that was just stupid. Like they mentioned like some books he read that were supposed to be racist, and look,
So you're not allowed. Wait. Hold up. So you're not allowed to go and read books that are racist now?
Yeah.
Oh, so what's next? Oh, you have to go and burn books that are racist. Then we're gonna have book burnings back. Thank you, lefties over there. Thank you, Mr. Moses.
We're gonna have a Fahrenheit 451 on our hands.
Yeah, literally.
This is the people that our college tuition and our taxpayer money is going to fund, by the way.
I bet if I read Mein Kampf just to see what's in it, just to see how bad it is, and to maybe learn from all the crazy crap that happened because of that book, I'd be slammed as a racist then. I'd be a Nazi just because I read the book, even though I don't endorse anything in it.
You read To Kill a Mockingbird and they said the N-word in that. You're
racist. You're racist.
You're racist.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too is that I could understand where somebody could see, it doesn't see the whole context of the picture if they see this guy reads, Mein Kampf, this guy hangs out with Richard Spencer, does this, does that. I could see where if you didn't know the context, if you didn't understand the full picture, you'd be like, oh, that looks a bit sketchy. But the thing is, when you look at the bigger picture, when you see all the details, all the facts, then, Stephen Miller's just a guy that's tough on immigration, that has, maybe views you disagree with, but he's not a racist to my knowledge. There are some people, believe me, I know them, that do hide some of their crazy views. But there's a big difference between those people and Stephen Miller. Those people are way, how could I describe it? They're way more... sometimes open about it, if you know what I mean. Like, as much as they hide it, there are these big things that come out. They're quite obviously like, ooh, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, Richard Spencer has clips on YouTube like with his crazy explanations as to why he thinks that his race is superior to others. Okay. Stephen Miller is nowhere in that ballpark. Nowhere. Right. And like to think that like, and to assume that like, and yeah, you're right. Context matters. Like if you read anything, that shouldn't like make you a racist or bigot or whatever. Like now, if you said, "Oh, I read Mein Kampf," and you know what, that Hitler guy, he has a point. Then maybe, okay. But not even that. Like I just, and they're connected. They're trying to connect dots that aren't there.
Yeah,
like it's a really bad connect the dots game.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I've known genuinely like we have a character in mind that's like genuinely racist, but he's a bit open enough about that you would go, yeah, you're a racist, buddy. And there are other people that you're like, I don't know 100% for certain, but there's a lot more to this. You know, there's not like with Stephen Miller where there's either some gray area or there's some other context that proves otherwise. It's something that's hard to explain to some of these people, but it's one of those things like it's kind of like porn. You know it when you see it.
Allowed to say it on the radio?
I guess so. YOLO.
It's out there, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
We said worse things. Nobody starts scrubbing through the archives. Oh, now.
They want to talk about racist.
I did nothing wrong. Hashtag Sean did nothing wrong. Oh, God. Speaking of doing nothing wrong.
Segue.
Yeah, that was perfect. Roger Stone has been found guilty unanimously by everyone in the jury on 7 counts of lying, witness tampering, among many other trivial crimes, in my opinion. And he's obviously a big surrogate of Trump, big advisor, big helper, helped him. He literally was pushing for Trump to run since the 80s. This guy also helped with the Nixon campaign, a bunch of other campaigns, the Reagan campaign, I think. He's a very powerful, influential, active political figure that's extremely effective and is willing to put lots of skin and blood on the line for what he does. If you like him or not, you got to admit, he puts his skin like truly in the game. And now he's facing up to 50 years in prison for like getting a few questions wrong in some interviews and lying to Congress, a few other things. Some would say to protect Trump from this crazy impeachment stuff or this crazy Russia investigation. That's what some would say. So because of that, and given that context, since he's been a long, loyal supporter, these are somewhat trivial crimes with huge sentences. Like death sentences in prison. You know, because this guy, he's old. So if he gets 40 years, 50 years, he's going to die in prison. And, you know, there have been other people like Comey, Clapper, Brennan, all these other people that have done a lot of bad things. They've broken a lot of laws, as some on the right would say. And have they faced this punishment? No. Have they gotten 50 years in prison? No. So I think Trump's going to pardon him. It's only a matter of when. Is he going to do it now? Or are there other factors at play where he can't do it now and has to wait till he gets a second term or waits till the end of his presidency, which I think would be a bit too long. But we shall see.
Yeah, it's a shame what happened to him. I hope that Trump does it as soon as possible, but I understand the politics of it.
Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah, because like leftists, they do bad stuff all the time. Like just like look at how many Antifa people were like punching people in the face, setting stuff on fire. They caught a bunch of these people, and you know what happens? And even at Penn State too. Not Antifa, but they caught someone tearing up Trump signs, and the judge just let him out. They let him off.
Yeah. Look at the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys, multiple Proud Boys have felony charges on them for defending themselves, and they're going to jail. Meanwhile, Antifa, who starts all these fights, is still roaming in the streets freely.
Well, the problem is with the Proud Boys, they were charged in New York.
Yeah,
I think that's a New York charge. That's a state charge, so I don't think Donald Trump can touch that because you can't.
If it goes
you can't. If it was federal, if they were charged in a federal court, then he can. You can't touch that with because I think we had this talk a while back with the making a murderer thing. Like, well, why doesn't they pardon him? But it's up to the state. But with Roger Stone,
he was in D.C.
That was federal charges. So I think they're gonna he can do that. It's just when, and then I think what happened, I want to say it was either today or yesterday. Donald Trump, he pardoned 2 military soldiers, and then restored 1 Navy SEAL's rank back.
Wow.
For some, you know. I think 2 of them were charged with murder, or at least one of them was charged with murder. And then the other one was, you know, he took a picture of a dead ISIS or whatever. So he pardoned all three of them. Two of them, he granted two of them clemency, and then the other one lost rank. Trump gave the rank back to the Navy SEAL. So, that was good. I think part of me part of me thinks he's doing this as a gauge to see what how the reaction is, and then based on that, I think that might determine the timing of the Roger Stone pardon. Right.
And I think
I don't know.
yeah.
I think there's a difference though between like someone in the military and someone like Roger Stone. Like military people, you see they got kind of wronged by the military justice system. Most people are probably gonna be like, oh, that's good, or they're not really gonna care either way. Like very few people are passionate about that. But then something like Roger Stone, where it's inherently political, there's gonna be it's a big deal. People are gonna have opinions, and it might hurt his chances in 2020, but I doubt it because the people who are going to complain weren't going to vote for him anyways for the most part.
I think if anything, it would probably actually help him because he has a lot of Roger Stone was one of the people, the original people that followed Trump even through 2016, and doing that would definitely help in telling people, see, I got your back, right? And I mean, would he lose support? I don't know. I think he definitely gain a lot more back, I think, than I don't know, because if pardoning somebody like that wanes your support of somebody, then I'm not sure you were really supportive to begin with. That's a difficult one. That's a difficult one to gauge, though.
Yeah, it is a little difficult, but I think we said it's very true. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to gain a loss of any. I don't think he'd gain pretty much any support from getting Roger out. The only thing he might gain is some influence back.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think there's a lot of people who are kind of blackpilled on Trump, and once they see that he's actually going to go and try to help out the people who helped him, because really. That's the one thing I will have to say about Trump is ever since he got into office, and I know there's reasons for it, but a lot of those a lot of his original supporters, they kind of just been let go. Look at Alex Jones. When was the last time that Trump went onto the Alex Jones show back when he was campaigning? He hasn't been back since. He hasn't said anything about him. He does something like this. That's promises kept. That'll definitely reinvigorate the base to go and actually care about this, because then they'll see hey, maybe there's a chance that these people who defend against Antifa, these Proud Boys and stuff, similar cases, maybe they might have a shot of not rotting in prison for defending themselves. Maybe people who are Trump supporters won't have to worry about having a constant target on their back.
I guess I don't know. I mean, the thing too is that I think again, I don't understand the Constitution as well as a lot of these legal scholars and all that, but I think what the nice thing about pardon is that it gives you sort of an extra check on the judicial system when there's somebody punished for some trivial crime, they're punished insanely. That's where a pardon can be very helpful. I think with Roger Stone, I don't know if pardoning him sooner is better than later. I know that's what Scott Adams said on Twitter. I was checking that when I was on the can. He said, it's smart to do it sooner unless there are other variables at play. And that's the thing is, I don't know what else is at play here. Because that's the thing. People like to jump on a lot of conclusions on Trump. They're like, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? Why is he doing this? Oh, he's given up on his base. Ann Coulter is a perfect example of this. Trump does a little something she doesn't like, and she goes, he's got to go. I hope he's impeached. And I'm like, okay, do you have some insider in the White House that's telling you everything that's going on? Because, Trump knows he's got to complete his campaign promises. He's got, treat support as well. He knows that, I think. And if there's something that doesn't fit, I tend to think it's because there are other factors at play that we just don't know about.
Well, I think part of this is also because the pardon thing, like the trial and the sentencing have to happen anyway, are
Yes.
probably going to happen regardless of if the pardon
That's
is made
true.
or not.
Yes, that's true.
So the Roger Stone still has to have the sentencing still yet before, I guess, and then I guess because I mean that really doesn't matter because he's going to get, like, he's already been tried. The trial's already happened. He's already been found, quote, guilty, and then so the sentencing still has to happen too. I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think he'll.
Well, the
It'll
good
be too
thing.
much longer after the sentencing. I don't
Yeah.
know when the sentencing is going to happen, but I can't imagine it being too long after it because, I mean,
Well, the good
him
thing
being
for
in jail,
Roger is that Alex Jones has called, publicly or as publicly as he can for Trump to pardon him. Roger Stone's daughter was on Fox News telling him to pardon him. I think there's going to be enough push and support. It's going to get Trump's attention. He's going to go, yeah, I'll pardon the guy.
Yeah.
And I think he was going to anyway because they've been long friends. And Roger has been, I'm not going to lie, if there's one man you can say is responsible, other than Trump himself, obviously, of getting Trump to run or of getting Trump to the presidency, it's Roger Stone. Like, I'm sorry, it's not any of his other supporters. I mean, they're obviously helpful and they did a lot of work. I'm not discounting that, but I'm saying if there's one man that really made it happen, that really just.
and he took it in the chin too. Like,
Yeah.
he's taking it in the chin for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me, that is about as more deserving of a pardon as anything. Like he took it all in the chin.
He took one for the team.
Yeah, like especially like a whole bunch of people started wavering. Like that was one guy that absolutely kept it together. Yeah, I hope he gets pardoned.
I just saw something on Twitter, and I want to read it out loud before we go into any other topics, because this is probably the craziest headline of the day, of the week, of the month. This is a headline. It's a real headline, real article from The Guardian. Mike Cernovich tweeted this out. That's why I saw it. And it reads, Prince Andrew, I didn't have sex with teenagers. I was at home after a pizza party. What? You want to just confirm all the Pizzagate conspiracy theories? Well, you just did right there.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I guess the Pizzagate was true.
Like, what the? Oh my God. Is that deliberate?
It might be a joke.
I don't know. Well, they said that in an interview, somebody was interviewing him asking, like, did you ever sleep with teenage girls? I don't know if it was specifically at Epstein's or whatever, but it's obviously in the context of that at least. They said within 10 seconds he blinked 10 times, which is a common sign of lying, of course. Man, ooh boy.
Yeah, this is funny because, like, okay, so he's like, denies having sex with 17-year-old because he was at a Pizza Express on the night in question. That is hilarious. Look, so you're telling me that it took you all night to eat a slice of pizza? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Hey, no. He had the whole pie. He had the big pizza.
Hey, what's his pizza shop? He was like,
Like, I know.
Yeah, it was a
right?
Comet
I'm like,
ping
look,
pong.
I wanna get- it's not taking me all night to eat at L&B Spumoni's. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh my God. And
That
then
is funny. That is funny.
I know. It's like one of the craziest, funniest headlines I've seen in a long time. And I definitely see. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and predict that he was on that pedophile island doing what you would probably guess happens on that island.
Almost. Yeah. I'm almost willing to bet money on it.
Me too.
Yeah. And like he can't go back to the United States. He can't do it.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way he's going to be able to come back to the United States because the second he sets foot on American soil, it's going to be like, here you go. Here's your paperwork. Have a nice day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm thinking now that, like, that he said that, I think there was a reason. I think there may have been, like, maybe it wasn't Comet Ping Pong, but I think there may have been some sort of like pizza shop involved with this stuff. Like Epstein like had a secret pizza service maybe on the island.
Yeah, if the island has a pizza shop, I will freak out.
Is there a Pizza Express on Pedophile Island? You gotta let me know.
Or maybe it was like a code word or something that they've been using. Like, the pizza shop would be like where they go to like I don't know, like the brothel basically for kids. Which, I mean, if you understand internet like lingo, like cheese pizza, that would be like kids stuff.
Yeah.
That's what that meant in like internet lingo. So like the pizza shop, he's probably like tacitly admitting that he was actually doing that.
Yeah, because the thing too about Pizzagate, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a lot about it. I didn't follow it that closely. I knew bits and pieces of it when it was happening around 2016. I know Alex Jones was talking about it a lot, and even Alex admitted he was wrong on it to some degree. But I remember Epstein was a part of Pizzagate. I remember Paul Joseph Watson making a video about Epstein and a bunch of other quote-unquote pedophiles that rule the world. And I remember watching it going, what? And I kind of forgot about it, but then when I heard him get arrested, I was like, I remember this thing. I remember the pedophile. I remember the Lolita Express. I think Epstein is just a small piece of a bigger pie here that is going to take a long time to unravel, but it's just, everybody loves to rag on conspiracy theorists and say they're wrong all the time, how they're crazy and wacky, but I mean, you gotta listen to them at least because you never know.
Sometimes a broken clock is usually right twice a day, right?
Yeah.
Alex Jones has found quite a few interesting things, not even just like that, like the whole, frog skate thing, that was actually true.
The Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, Bohemian Grove, that was another one. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff this guy gets right, but it's just a couple, the times he gets things wrong, he gets some, pretty really wrong.
Yeah.
And speaking of Bohemian Grove, if anybody doesn't know what that is, I got a red pill for you tonight. Google Bohemian Grove, go on Wikipedia, read that, and then Google that with Alex Jones too. There is a picture. Okay, Bohemian Grove is like this. I would call it a rich elitist fratty summer camp. That's basically what it is. It's this place in California in the Redwoods that's very secluded where a bunch of elitists go, and we don't know what happens there, but they spend a few days or a few weeks or whatever it is there. There's some weird freaking plays, and there's some weird rituals that happen there, and it's a bunch of men around there and maybe some women too that they no. Not
Facilitate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not talking about women that are invited in the traditional way, but you get my drift. And there could also be some, man-on-man stuff going on too.
A lot of facilitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying this like
We'll keep it loosely. You get the idea.
Yeah. And I'm just saying this based on what people have talked about. And there's also this like giant owl statue where like this play happens and everything has like owl markings on it. Like I said, it's like a secret society, but it's also like a fraternity type thing. There is a picture that has a bunch of people sitting around a table talking to people. If I have the names correct, I know Ronald Reagan was there with Henry Kissinger, and I also believe Jimmy Carter was there too. But there's a bunch of presidents and CEOs and other high up people that go there. And Alex Jones snuck in one year. Oh my God, this man. I mean, you gotta say, regardless of what you think about Alex Jones, what he did was pretty gutsy. Yeah, to actually go in there, film it, and he got out. I can't believe nobody recognized him. That's what gets me. I know he was wearing a disguise and all that, but still, it's like I don't think he wore the best disguise ever. But it's pretty weird. I'm sorry, it's weird. I don't know what really goes on there, but I bet there's some deals that happen. Because look, there's a bunch of rich people there that they're gonna make some deals or talk about something at least. Like stuff's gotta go down there. I don't know what. Bilderberg might be a bigger deal. I don't know, but like these sort of things they're creepy. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if maybe they have a pizza shop up over there too.
It might.
I wonder if Jeffrey Epstein ever went to that place. I bet
Oh
he
my
had.
god.
He's probably the pizza supplier. He's a pizza boy.
Yeah. He's a pizza delivery boy.
He was Chef Boyardee up there delivering all the fresh pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh god. To change gears a bit. Speaking of bad things have happened, I guess. Myles Garrett, who's a football player. I'll let Phil talk about this one because he knows more about sports than me. I just saw the video, but can you give the TLDR on it?
Hold on, uno momento, por favor. So, this past Thursday, the Steelers played the Browns, and there was 8 seconds left in the game. So Myles Garrett, in a game that's already been over, it was 21 to 7. Browns had the game long in hand. The last play of the game, I guess, he tries to sack the quarterback, Mason Rudolph, Myles Garrett, and they get into a little scuffle. Then Myles Garrett proceeds to yank the helmet off of Mason Rudolph, and then there's a skirmish continues, and then Myles Garrett swings the helmet at Myles Rudolph and hits it, and the side of the helmet hits him right on the top of the head, and of course, now the Myles Garrett's been because of that, Myles Garrett's been suspended for the rest of the season at a minimum. This was seen, and I after seeing it myself, has to be one of the most brutal plays pretty much in NFL history.
Yeah.
It's not even really a play at that point. That's just
Well, no, I mean the play was done, but I mean this is probably the most egregious thing I've seen on television on a football field, like in my life, and I've watched a ton of football. So, I mean, it's like the thing was, it was really, I mean, obviously it was really stupid because look, the game was over, you won, right? It's over, and then you hit. Then there's a danger element to it too. Like you hit the way he hit him. He hit him on the side of the helmet, which is actually the softer part of the helmet, and thankfully, that's what hit instead. Because if he would have, Myles Garrett is like 6'6" or something like that, 270 pounds, Chuck Diesel. If he threw the crown of the helmet on Mason Rudolph, probably serious damage. I'm thinking his brain might be mashed potatoes, especially when you consider Mason Rudolph. He had a concussion a couple weeks ago, and it was like a really bad one too. And then you're Myles Garrett's their best, the Browns' best player, really. So you just endangered your team. Like you risked your team going into the playoffs, whatever. Like, I mean, the Browns probably aren't going to the playoffs anyway, but you risk it. Like you risk it, and it's just like, it's tough. It's just one of those egregious things that you just never want to see. And obviously the NFL came down hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like that next day on Friday, they showed up to work at 9, and by 11 they made their ruling. Like they were not playing games. Did you guys see the play or see the film or
I
whatever?
just saw the little clip of him, because I don't watch football anymore, but I did see the clip of him taking the helmet and whack him over the head, because it was being spread around everywhere. Like, no matter what, chat room you were in or what you were talking about, somebody shared that at some point. And I saw it somewhere, and I saw them trending on Twitter. I was like, all right, I guess I gotta see this. And at first, I didn't see anything happen when they show like the real-time footage because it happened so quickly. When you see that slow motion where he takes the helmet, rips it, and then whacks him over the head, you know, as if he's taking like a baseball bat and just like hitting him over the head. It's like, oh, brutal. I mean, what did he?
It was. Say it again.
The guy that was hit, like, did he have any injuries or anything from that? I know might be a stupid question, but did he?
He hasn't reported any injuries that I know of.
Yeah.
But that's something like that. It's like, look, because you already had a head injury, and his concussion that he had a couple of weeks ago, he took a shot to the head, and I think he was out cold. He went out to did the whole concussion protocol. I think he missed the next game after that too. And then this on top of that, this is something that could have, it really could have long-term effects to it. Like, and even Mason Rudolph's agent was like, well, we're examining other avenues, whether it be, I guess I'm assuming that like charges or a civil suit would be on the table, but it's so bad. And then you have like, and the NFL's cracking down on like player safety, and like a lot of us complain about how it's gotten too, it's gotten too weak, but like, they do it for a reason, for player safety. And so obviously, like if you see something like that, like the NFL is going to have to crack down. And furthermore, this was on national news, right? This play wasn't just on ESPN, NFL Network. This was on Good Morning America, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Good Morning America didn't even cover the Epstein story, yet they're going to put this on there, right? Let's put that. Let's keep that in perspective too. Like, you have, like, it's serious. What'd you think, Alex?
Yeah, so my girlfriend actually was watching the game. Then she like stopped watching it because the Steelers were losing pretty bad. Then she ends up sending me the video in the morning, and that just seemed like this whole thing. It just seems ridiculous too, because not only that did the guy hit him in the face, but then like you saw the other two members of the Steelers team started like punching that guy in the face. It became like a whole like a straight up brawl.
Yeah.
What kind of upset me though is like the two guys on the Steelers who went to go and help their buddy who was being like assaulted. They got, I think, like what, a 3-game suspension or something.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Well, yeah. So here. Let's put some more perspective in it. So the offensive lineman, Marquise Pouncey, he as soon as Myles Garrett hit Mason Rudolph on the head with the helmet, Marquise Pouncey went off. Like he started punching him and kicking him in the head after that. And like, yeah. So yeah, he lost his stuff. But I mean, and he got 3-game suspension, but around the league, he got a lot of love. Like it was like, dude, I'm backing up my quarterback at all costs. Like you like, and that's really, as an offensive lineman at a very young age, you're taught protect your quarterback at all costs. He's the king of the castle, and he needs to be protected at every cost. And so, yeah, I mean, like people around the league were looking at that like going, I would have done the same thing. He did that to my quarterback. Yeah, we're going at it. And yeah, I'm not mad at the lineman, but I'm like, look, I just.
Oh, I know what you mean. It's like
each team was also fined $250,000 too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is the Steelers being fined for this guy? Like these people just defending themselves from just this guy being a straight up jerk. Like they
I think part of it was they kind of let it happen longer than it was supposed to. Like it's one of those things where like if a fight breaks out and it breaks out over a long period of time, they kind of hold the team responsible just because after a while. Like if you're going to get scrappy, like the onus is on the player, like somewhat on the players to get your players in order, get your players in check, and really the coaches are supposed to be doing that as well.
Okay, but here's the thing. Why is it an equal fine for each team when obviously the guy ripping the helmet off is doing more damage here?
So the common perception for some people was that Mason Rudolph might have instigated the situation. Like he was, I think he had his hands lodged in the face mask of Myles Garrett or something like that. Doesn't matter. Doesn't excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
What Myles Garrett did, but I think the fact was it was like both you clowns need to knock it the hell off, and that's how it went. And this isn't done yet. They're saying that more fines are still going to be doled out. Like,
jeez.
Even I think Mason Rudolph got a fine too, like for his little his participation in the yeah.
Right. So what did Rudolph do? What did that guy do?
Well, I think they're saying that he might have said some stuff that might have popped him off. And then,
oh god, see, that's
and
stupid.
he didn't exactly back off. Like he didn't really like he was very in his face, which hey, things happen. You own it. Basically, own it. I can understand, like if you're gonna dole out like Myles Garrett got at a minimum the rest of the season. Like this could still bleed into next season. Like it could still go into next season. If you're gonna dole out that kind of punishment for him, then you kind of got to give the other guy at least a little something. Like,
yeah, I can understand a little bit, but I think it's not fair to be charging basically equally for different crimes.
Well, that's the team, and that's it's a business. It's a business. They got an image to uphold. They're not trying to be all about that.
Yeah, I understand, but still,
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, look, that's how it's operating right now.
Yeah,
like,
no, it makes sense.
Ever since the CTE and the concussion protocol, like ever since that lawsuit happened a while back, like
yeah,
the game has changed completely.
I think that's good in general.
Yeah, like if you get a concussion, you're taken out of the game. Like you have to go out of the game, and the medical staff have to clear you before you're even considered back in the game.
Well, speaking of that, when Mayor Matt Morgan, who is a former WWE wrestler, came to our Turning Point meeting on Friday or Saturday on Thursday, man, I'm losing it. He said he got, I believe it was either 21 or 22 concussions from the WWE, because he said, people think, oh, WWE is all fake. It's staged, but it's not fake in the sense that when they take those chairs and they whack them over the head, those are real chairs. But he's supposed to do a certain maneuver because he's preparing for it. He'll do a maneuver that supposedly cushions the blow or something like that.
Right.
But they were doing maneuvers that weren't cushioning the blows that well. Now it's different. But he was doing a maneuver where they just, they gave him a concussion regardless. And it's pretty brutal to have that many concussions. That's just, God, your brain's got to be, I'm sorry, that's not good. People sort of I remember when I was a kid, when I would hear somebody got a concussion, I'd be like, oh my God, concussion? Now it's just everybody gets concussions all the time. I know it's a bit hyperbolic, but you get my point, which is we're downplaying something so damaging to your brain, to your head. That's not good.
I mean, if you're really going to talk about the WWE wellness program, it's a joke. Honestly, it's a joke.
What is that? I'm sorry, I know nothing about WWE.
So WWE, okay. So in lieu of, a couple years back, and probably a little bit more than a couple years back, the WWE created their wellness center after all the after all these wrestlers started dying of like, roids and like painkiller addictions and
Yeah.
drug addictions. And there's like, people were getting, the wrestlers were getting CTE or whatever. So they created this wellness program to like test wrestlers, like drug test wrestlers, and evaluate them for concussions and stuff like that. But it's like it's not really serious. Like one of my friends, he used to do, he was I think he's still doing it though, like not at a big level, but he was he was at the WWE Performance Center in Florida, and he did some stints with like Ohio Valley Wrestling, whatever. He's like, dude, I got concussions like at least twice a month. And the only thing they really did was they gave me some smelling salts. They checked my eyes. They were like, get back out there. Like, wow.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's like, the only people that they really protect are like the big names. Like the really big names, like The Rock or Brock Lesnar or something like that. They'll take care of those guys, the ones that are making millions and millions of dollars.
Of course.
Bringing it. Yeah. And then the smaller ones, they'll like if you see somebody getting kicked out because of a drug test failure or whatever, it'll be like, oh, we released so-and-so. And it was like a small time wrestler. Like Roman Reigns failed the drug and alcohol thing. Like he failed a wellness test, and they didn't do anything. They really didn't do anything to him. They're like, oh, it's like a week suspension or whatever, which might have actually been a vacation for the guy. But like, it's not a clear standard. The standards are absolutely different. It's weak. It's very like I don't know.
Well, according to Matt Morgan, he said, and he made it clear like he doesn't work for WWE anymore, but he said that they've really cleaned up recently. Like a lot of it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, they compare. Okay, so compared to where they were back in the 90s, they've cleaned up, but that's not like, I wouldn't call that a moral victory or anything like that.
It's progress.
I mean, that depends on what you define as progress.
Yeah, so now
that was in the 90s.
It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade from having a Chris Benoit. Yeah, but like,
Well, how bad was it back in the day?
What? Well, you remember the Chris Benoit story, right?
No, I know nothing about WWE.
Chris Benoit. Okay, so Chris Benoit was a big wrestler. He took a lot of steroids. Like I'm telling you, he was like 40 years old. He had the body of he was in his 20s. You could tell the dude was doing roids, and he had veins everywhere, whatever. Oh, okay, got it. One night, he decided to, I think he killed his wife, his son, and then himself.
Oh, yeah. He mentioned that. Matt Morgan did mention that. Yeah, he killed his family, then killed himself, basically.
Yeah. So, I think that was part. I think that was part of where the wellness program, if you want to call it that, happened. But yeah, it was created to keep people. It was created to keep people from suing them, right? That was like, here, we created something. Don't sue us.
I was about to say it's not more like a legal thing than an actual, like something that's legal on
pure
paper.
Pure legal.
Not actually useful. It's like the real world fuel economy on like these cars. It's like, oh yeah, you'll get like 40 miles per gallon out of this, and you get like 20.
Put this in perspective. Brock Lesnar, right? He tried to fight, like he tried to fight in UFC and then fight in the WWE at the same time. He peed hot for the UFC, but failed nothing on the WWE. Right? Like how's that happen, right? You could tell it's a joke. It's a joke.
What was the name of the guy that you said? Oh wait, I think I found his name. Chris Benoit. That's his name.
Chris Benoit. Yeah, that's how it's spelled, but it's Chris Benoit.
Okay. Because I was just I get it's probably not this because I'm seeing it's in different locations, but where I'm from, there was some wrestler that like killed a bunch of people or something. I forget what it was, and that was a big deal in my area. I forget who it was or what they did, but it's in that sort of near Westchester kind of area. But yeah, WWE is something that's I don't think. Tell me if I'm wrong. I know it's still a big deal, but I don't think it's as big a deal as it used to be. Am I wrong?
No, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
it's pretty big. It's a $1 billion company.
Yeah. I've just never understood. I'm not gonna lie. I never got into it. Never really liked it. But it was interesting having Matt Morgan come talk about, because this is something they never told me when they were saying he was gonna come here. He was addicted to opioids. They never told me that part, but he told us that, and I was like, wow. And he recovered from it, and so he's been explaining to people how bad the stuff is and trying to help.
You could Google you can Google like the amount of the amount of wrestlers that have died via steroid or drug usage.
Yeah,
you know, it baffle you. If you watched, and I used to watch it. I used to watch it kind of a little bit as a little kid, and seeing that. Like what, the Ultimate Warrior died of a heart attack at like in his 50s or something like that. I'm like, that's nuts.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we'll transition over to the Groiper War. How about that? Another sort of match that's happening. Something that's kind of concluded now, though. The Groiper War sort of started, as you all know, with bunch of people coming up to these turning point events with Charlie Kirk, grilling him with questions. He didn't like them. And it kind of started when they blocked Nick Fuentes, who's the sort of leader of the Groiper movement, from coming into one of the events with Charlie. And it sort of, culminates to what it is now, where they're just going in with these touchy questions about touchy issues related to Israel, racial issues and stuff like that. And Charlie has been having trouble with these people recently, and Nick Fuentes has been bragging about how they've been winning every stop. But when Charlie went to North Carolina, even Nick Fuentes admitted that the Groipers lost, that Charlie won that night, because Charlie came prepared, and he did something which I don't know if I said on the show, but it's the best way to deal with these people, which is you answer their questions, which he wasn't doing before, and that sort of gave him energy and ammo and legitimacy, and then go on offense. Go after them or ask them questions or do something. That's what he did, and he even got a guy, as you mentioned, Identity Europa, and he even got a guy that came up that supported Identity Europa and just grilled into him. And I think he had Houston. He had a prove me wrong table, which was like changed my mind, but like packaged. And he did that, and he actually pulled up a clip of Fuentes saying Trump's not a serious candidate and a bunch of other things after it took like his TV like 20 minutes to work to show people that Fuentes is really the fraud here. That was what his point basically was, or wasn't a true Trump supporter, whatever you want to say. And the whole crowd there was, I think, all Groipers for the most part. And so they booed him, and he was walking out of the place, and they were booing him, and it was not a good look. And I think this is the end of it now, because Charlie's tour is done, at least for the semester. I don't know if he's got one in the spring. I know he did one in the spring when he came here, of course, so we'll see. But, boy, that was a rough past few weeks.
All right, to be fair, when Trump was when he first announced he was running and stuff, I don't think a lot of people really thought that he was a serious candidate.
I took him seriously from day one.
Honestly, I I honestly didn't think he was going to win on election night. Like, I was pleasantly surprised when he did, and I was very happy that he did. But still, it's just like,
Well,
like,
Fuentes also said that Trump was being an opportunist, I think, which I think was ridiculous. I mean, here's the irony, though, is that Charlie Kirk wasn't even a Trump supporter from day one. I believe he supported Rubio and Cruz. I could be wrong on that. Somebody should fact check me, but I think there's a tweet floating around saying that that'd be like a dream ticket or something. Could be wrong, but that's what I've heard. But I was personally a Trump supporter from literally day one when he came down that escalator. And I don't get when people say, like, oh, so-and-so's not a serious candidate. It's like, why? In Trump's case, you come up a bunch of other reasons why he'd be running, but he's throwing his hat into this big race. He's putting all his money into it. He's got all these big names that he's hired. He was doing it for real. He really was. And obviously he's in the White House now, but you could say somebody doing it for like cabinet positions, but Trump's not in it for that. So I didn't get the whole he's not a serious candidate argument. And I'm not saying that in hindsight. Like, at the time, I thought he was for real. I just didn't think he'd last long. But then when I saw the momentum that he was gaining, because I didn't think that many people believed in, because I believed in pretty much everything he believed in. I was like, yeah, this guy's nailing it. I didn't think that many people were ready for that kind of candidate, and they didn't all believe that, but turns out they did, and here we are.
To be fair, though, like, he's said that he'd run like several times beforehand. They never actually did.
But he did do it this time.
Yeah, he did. And like there was a lot. Like, honestly, I don't even think that he thought he was going to win. I've heard stories that like he was actually surprised, like the day that he actually won. Like,
yeah, I've heard conflicting stories on that, to be honest. But I think, though. And we said before we talked about his grapefruit stuff in the beginning, but I think personally the damage has already been done, that Fuentes wanted done. I think Fuentes is probably going to have a little bit of a falling after this, but I think he's going to peter off. I don't think he's going to have much relevancy, he might have a few things he might do that will become relevant, but I don't think he have much relevant. This will probably be his peak. I don't know what the state turning point will be in, let's say, a year or two. Because there's a bunch of other chapter presidents resigning. I don't know how it's going to end.
I don't know. I don't think this is going to be the last that you hear of Nick Fuentes. I think, just the fact that this, like, basically a nobody on the internet was able to go and challenge one of the most, like, growing right-wing organizations on college campuses today, that I think there's going to be more. I honestly do. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I just think that there's going to be more of him. I don't think he's just going to peter off after this because, this is like the first time that he's lost. Or not, it wasn't even really him. It was his supporters.
Well, and here's the thing. When I say he's going to peter off, I think, it depends how the political climate goes. If the left keeps going further left, there's going to be a fraction of the right that keeps going further right. I don't think that's going to be most of the right. And what the thing still is that all the stuff these groypers are talking about, believing in, it's never going to become mainstream. For example, the Israel stuff. You could say, gee, maybe we should pull back some aid from Israel. Maybe we should, maybe this is a bit hypocritical. But as Mike Cernovich pointed out, overwhelming numbers of evangelicals and other Republicans support Israel. You're not going to get them anti-Israel. Ever.
I don't think most people really care about Israel one way or the other.
I think most people don't care. I agree. But I think the evangelical vote is a huge and significant percentage of votes that Republicans need to get every election cycle. For example, Trump brought Pence on literally just to get the evangelical vote. And he did.
Yeah, like it's a big portion, but it's also a dying portion. Like, just look at the amount of like super religious people in general in the United States. It's gone down. Like, I think it's like going down, if anything.
It is, but I think Christianity will be making a comeback, and I still don't think the number of atheists or non-believers is enough.
No, it depends on. Look,
it depends where you are.
I think we're a little I think we're a little out of touch here on the evangelical vote. When you go to the South, when you go to the South and some of those states, I've been there. I've been to Texas and Georgia, and like
It's very
real.
religious.
It's real. It's real. That Jesus guy, he's a big deal down there. And in a lot of it in Pennsylvania too. Like you go outside, look in some outside Lancaster County, you see I see a lot of Trump posters.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see them pop up again. I like
beautiful sights.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the evangelical Christian. You know, there's more than just evangelical Christian. The whole Christian denominations. You know, you get your Catholics. You have your
right.
You know,
but don't all evangelicals overwhelmingly support Israel?
I don't.
Yeah,
I mean they probably do, but like I don't,
because Israel to them is
the
the
Holy Land. Exactly,
it's the Holy Land.
Yeah,
like that is how they view it. Like the Christians here, they view Israel as the Holy Land, and when Trump, for example, when Trump put the embassy in Jerusalem. Like, boy, that was a big one. That was a big one for the evangelical. They like you go to a church. You go to a church. A lot of them applauded that. Like that's a big thing for that. Like, and this is, and
well, that's why I'm saying I think
get it twisted. That they are. There's a lot of them, and they're in full swing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That I think the average Joe that is non-religious doesn't care much about Israel, but I think the evangelical group cares way more about it. Is it their number one issue? No, but it's definitely an emotional issue. It's tied to their faith, and that's a big deal. I mean, and that's why I'm saying this Groyper thing is never going to become mainstream. It never will be unless Christianity and evangelicals disappear in this country. Which,
no, it's not Christianity as a whole. Because look, even Nick Fuentes, he's Catholic. Catholics are not nearly as super gung-ho about Israel as evangelicals are. Like, you know, I'm sure like a lot of them support Israel, but it's not like tied to their faith the same way that like, you know, they probably more support the Vatican than Israel.
Fair, but like I said, I still think Nick Fuentes does not represent not only most of the country, but most of the right. He doesn't represent it.
I'm not saying he does, but I'm saying that Israel, it's like the support of Israel isn't like a super, you know, important issue. Like, super,
no,
like,
I agree.
Like that list is like the end all be all. Like,
what I'm saying is, it's kind of like an evangelical will assume Republicans support Israel. If they saw, let's say, Trump just say, screw Israel, I'm anti-Israel, do you think they'd be excited to vote for Trump?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
But they have other issues too.
But do they prioritize those issues over that? And would Israel be a deal breaker?
I don't think it would be.
I think it would. I think it'd provide enough of a sting. Enough of a sting. Like it's not that big of an issue, but if he did something like that would be serious enough to go, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think so because the left, they don't care about Israel either. So I mean, it would just be kind of a
yeah. But the left,
they don't have evangelicals.
The left is the left. Like this is like they don't care about Israel one way or the other. The right, absolutely. Like in a lot of cases, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I agree with Phil.
Like, yeah, and there's with Israel, it's like there's always been a relationship with the United States. Like even since World War II, it's always been a relationship. And there's a lot of like military technology, and there's a lot of just a lot of stuff.
Oil crisis and a lot of our involvement in the Middle East.
It is. I mean, look, it's good or for bad. It's a relationship.
Yeah,
and it's not going to change just because some groypers are going to complain. It's like it doesn't really hold water, like in the overall scheme of things.
Well, and the other things the groypers keep talking about is God, slipped my mind. Crap. Oh yeah, the gay stuff. They keep bringing up, and look, there's a point to this, but it looks bad. I think when they say stuff like, how has anal sex, as one guy said, how helped the conservative movement or help us win the culture war? How has legalizing gay marriage help us win the culture war, help conservative movement, stuff like that? I get their point there, which is like, these are victories for the left. But if conservatives start being anti-gay again and start bashing gay marriage, it's a very unpopular stance, and it looks bad, and we're taking steps backwards. I don't get this idea that we need to start going, hey, we shouldn't have gays in the conservative movement, even though they're helping us and they're effective. And one of our most influential voices, Myles Garrett, is a gay man, and we should just get rid of him. That's stupid to me. I just think it's so stupid. I get their point, and look, there is a discussion to be had there, which is, maybe this isn't helping our movement, but maybe it could. Maybe it could.
No, I think there's a little bit of a. There are some focal points. Like, you don't have to be religious to be about freedom or the Constitution.
Yeah.
Or, the Constitution or the Second Amendment, or capitalism. Like, you don't have to, you can be anything you want to be and still support that. Like, that doesn't, I think freedom is probably the big thing. And this is what, if Charlie Kirk would have said that right out of the gate, this probably wouldn't have blown up the way it did.
Yeah, exactly.
What Charlie Kirk did was he kind of sidestepped the issue instead of tackling it head on. That's where he messed up on. But it looked like he tackled it this last event that he was at. And so good for him. But yeah, but when you sidestep something, or you just don't, or you just ban a Q&A, that's it does the polar opposite effect of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And and especially when you're a group that champions free speech, that champions the exchange of ideas.
Yeah, and I think it's very, that was the thing that liberals always had a easy way to bash the right on, that they were anti-gay, anti-gay marriage. And it's something, look, I can understand the argument that marriage, should be between a man and woman. I get that argument. I also get the argument that it shouldn't be the government's decision. It should be up to the individuals. Like, if two guys want to get married, fine. I think you could still have gay marriage without, in a way, fundamentally changing the concept of marriage. I know people would say, well, it literally does that, but I still think with the vast majority of marriages being between a man and a woman, that's still what people think of as marriage. For now.
I think for now, but then, think about, marriage has a huge tax break. What's stop, and if you're married and you're going to college, pro tip people over here, don't, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you're married and you're applying on FAFSA, normally when you go to apply for FAFSA, you need your parents to sign off on it, and then your financial aid's based off of your parents, unless you're over 24 or have a kid or something. If you're married, you also don't have to go and use your parents for that. So if you really wanted to, you go and just be like, hey, buddy, I see that you're a college student, I'm a college student, let's get married, and then we'll pay less on taxes and pay less on the FAFSA. There's no real check to that. With a woman, they'd be less likely to do that. Now, I mean, it happens, yes, but you ever see the movie I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry? Yeah, that sort of thing I could see happening more in the future as people, as a stigma sort of goes down. They're like, oh, well, let's just go and do this.
Well, they do that they do that in the military too. When you get in the military, when you join the military, you're put in barracks, and the only exception is if you're married, and then you go into you go on post or off post housing, which is way less intrusive. So you have some people that get married just to avoid going into the barracks. So yeah. A little fun fact for you. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people could go and do to kind of abuse that system. And then, you kind of have to consider, why does the government provide benefits for people who are married?
Well, to encourage them to have kids, right?
Yeah, it's to encourage them to have kids, and in general, like people who are married tend to live. Like yeah, it's basically to have kids because if a kid grows up in a single parent household, statistically, that's not a really good thing to have happen.
Well, you're still gonna encourage heterosexual couples to have kids. Like that doesn't change. So I don't see what the harm is.
Well, no, that's like the whole benefit of it, though.
Well, it's still a benefit. A benefit doesn't change.
Well, yeah, but if everyone could go and do it, like there's less of an incentive to that. What's stopping just like two straight people from getting gay married?
Well, because they're straight.
Well, yeah, but they could like there was a case too where I think there was some of these guys in Australia who were like it was either Australia or like Europe or something. I forget what country it was in Europe or Australia, but these guys were like they run to a competition. It was like for the like a bromance or something. Like what's the most like coolest thing you could do? And then they had like a fake like bro marriage, and they just did that for lollies and jollies.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's gonna happen that much. Yeah.
I think it could.
Maybe.
I think it could. And then what's going to happen is they're going to start cracking down on this and be like, hey, wait a second, there's all these like gay married people out here. Let's go and like reduce the benefits for being married, which will in turn reduce the amount of people who do get married at the end of the day once you stop giving incentives to it.
I think if you if you go into a gay marriage for the benefits, how is that not like offensive?
That's not
isn't
true
that
marriage.
like a truly offensive thing? Like
Yeah.
where we're seeing all this, oh, I'm offended because somebody says something that they don't like or whatever, or that goes like I'm like, wait, people are getting married. Same-sex people are getting married for benefits. Are you kidding me? How's that not offensive? Like you're abusing something that's like meant to be for somebody else, and you're using it for benefits. How's that not offensive?
Well, yeah, last thing I'll say on this is that I think we need to remember that when Trump, who's the most pro-gay president ever, and the only president to come into office pro-gay marriage, he got a standing ovation at the RNC by everyone when he said that we should protect our LGBTQ citizens, basically from radical Islam is what the theme of that was. But because it was out after the Orlando shooting, it was like a few months ago, I think. Before that, like the Republican Party has evolved so much from a few years ago, and Fuentes and all his gang want to pull it back. We got Trump in.
You have to consider, what does conservatism mean? You're conserving something. It's not all about economic, conservatism.
That's true.
There is a social aspect, and what the sort of Groyper movement's basically kind of getting at is that like the social aspect, social conservatives are almost alienated from the modern conservative Republican Party movement.
I think I know, but you're not going to win that argument by saying, hey, we shouldn't be pro-gay anymore. That's not going to win you any arguments for that. I would say you could bring back the best angle you can take on it. I know you're going to say this goes against what I just said, but they should be more. They should try to make Christianity cool again, or cool for the first time ever.
Well, that's kind of, I don't know. That's kind of weird. But I was like,
how so?
My thing was,
see, but
here's my thing. Let me just say something, and then I'll get back to you.
Okay.
In my opinion, I always felt like because you have people saying like marriage should be for everybody, and then you have like conservatives that are like no, marriage should be between a man and a woman or whatever. I was always like, well, you know what, they should just take the name marriage out of the civil. I would call them all civil unions. Like as far as the government sees, it's a civil union, whether it's man, woman, woman, doesn't matter. It should be considered as a civil union as far as the government's concerned. And then if you want to name it a marriage, that's your deal. Or if you want to call it whatever term you want to call it, then that's your business. But the government should see it as a civil union. That was my personal thing. Like that's what I felt should have happened. But wait a minute, what did you want me to answer?
You said it was weird when I said that social conservatism should be more about making Christianity cool, or a reform version of Christianity, something like that. I think that's what they should be focusing on.
Well, I mean,
Well, not all
it depends on what you mean by cool. I don't know.
Mormons out there too.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't think, like I said, for example, you gotta get the anti-gay stuff out of it. I don't know how you do that. I'm just saying it would improve the image of Christianity, make it more welcoming to younger people. Well, how is that?
Remove verses. You remove verses from the Bible. That's kind of not cool.
Well, or you just reinterpret it.
No, it's pretty clear in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it's
but how come some Christians are okay with homosexual couples?
Because they just ignore the Bible.
Well, no, they're because you're told to love everybody. Like that's ultimately, like, even though I disagree with you, I'm still gonna love you. That's the whole. They teach that in the Bible. Like that's, like, maybe I think you're wrong. Maybe you're going to hell. Maybe eternal damnation is in your future, but I'm still gonna love you anyway.
Okay.
Right. That's one of the things that the Bible preaches.
Yeah, I don't know how some of these like these like weird denominations are like actually performing like gay marriages. So that doesn't make sense to me. Like how a church could do that. Like, I mean, I guess if you're like a non-church, you're like the, one of those like Unitarians that, that they can do that because they're not Christian, but I don't see how that makes sense when you look at the Bible. And they're pretty clear on that. I mean, I'm Catholic, so I mean, I have a different view of these things, but I've read at least a bit of the Bible. I read the whole thing front to back. But
speaking of the thing we were just talking about, Pete Buttigieg, in a headline on CNN, surges to first place in Iowa, new polls show. That means absolutely nothing because Iowa is also where Ted Cruz won and many other candidates that never became president. I still don't get what the fixation with Iowa is. But that happened. And I think the last thing we should talk about is YouTube changing its terms of services. I got an email about this. Everybody else has a YouTube account probably did too, and raised their eyebrows a bit. They have a new line in their terms of services that says, quote, YouTube is under no obligation to host or serve content, unquote. Now, why are people concerned about this? Well, it's because it's the most open way of saying we can take your content down or not even have you on for whatever reason we want. It doesn't matter. Like they could just take it off. And then they would cite this as like their violation. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I brought something like that up last week about like they had that portion and another portion of it that said if something's not commercially viable, we reserve the right to go and like terminate your service or something.
Yeah, it might have been something like that.
I wonder because the new terms of service are effective December 10th, I think it is. So that would mean there's a good chance that our YouTube channel might be pulled on December 11th. I'm just saying.
Yay.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, after we gain all these subs, we're at 172. They just take it away. Never get back again. People don't realize the significance of that, especially when you're a big guy like Alex Jones, who at one point had more subscribers than CNN. They just took them off. Gone. Nothing. I mean, it's a big deal. And I think, like I said many times on the show, I think government's going to have to come in and do something because it's going to get out of hand. Because YouTube's the only platform for videos. Now people can say, oh, what about VidMe or what about Vimeo or what about BitChute? Nobody goes on those platforms except
here's
people in our circles.
So BitChute's gaining BitChute's gaining, and the big one for me, the big one would be Twitch. Like if Twitch starts getting, Twitch is starting to gain.
No,
too.
it's only for
And
live
Twitch is
streaming.
pretty bad.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying they're starting to grow their platform, like, and they're like,
But they're
they've already-
owned by
they have platinum.
Amazon. Remember that. They're owned by
But
Amazon.
yeah, YouTube's owned by Google, and I would venture to say that would probably be as much promising as anything, because they have the infrastructure to take on something like a YouTube, and they want to.
The service is even worse than YouTube's.
And it's just one big tech company for another. Like,
But
they're no different.
It's different. Like, okay, so, and this is what I'm saying. Like, eventually, like, well, I mean, eventually, things are going to have to change anyway, just because YouTube's just going to be booting people off anyway. But yeah, they're changing their model completely. They're taking away pretty much every independent creator, like pretty much everybody that isn't like gaming. But I mean, gaming, they're going to Twitch. Gamers are going to Twitch. Makeup, I mean, I guess you get makeup or you like some review sites or something like that. But even then, that's like, you have to be a certain size already, because if you're smaller, pretty sure that the big corporate people that are whispering to YouTube aren't gonna like it all that much. And YouTube they've made partnerships with pretty much all the big tech, or not big tech, but big corporate like media outlets. This isn't just, yeah. And so you have the news, right? News sites, right? Smaller news are going to get wiped off the face of the earth, because you're not going to do a partnership with NBC Universal and then have these smaller guys taking them on. It's not, no, they'll say NBC will probably have somebody going, get rid of these guys. Look, this is like Steven Crowder. You remember Steven Crowder? He had a whole bunch of people. He had his music videos that were parody and in no way copyright infringing, like from a legal perspective, but from a YouTube perspective, they went at, like, Warner Brothers went after him because, they do that now. Like, yeah, they do that now. This is big corporate whispering in YouTube's ear. No, take this dude out. And like, okay, all right.
Well, I do agree. That's one thing I have noticed. It's very true about YouTube is they don't care about the little guy, the content creator, the grassroots of YouTube anymore. It's all about the big corporate people. Like, just look at the trending list. Like, Steven Crowder have hit videos, all these other people have hit videos, but it's always Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Cenk on his iPhone, #1. Oh, speaking of Cenk, he's running for Congress in one of California's districts.
Who cares? It's California.
Yeah, Mike Cernovich.
I could care less. I could care less about California. I'm sorry.
Mike Cernovich might run against him though. So
I mean, yeah, that'd be fun to watch. But no, I don't like California. I was born there, and I don't like it.
No, I understand, but at the same time, like what I'm saying of YouTube is that they keep just hurting the little guy, which is hurting their reputation away. But at the same time, the catch-22 is, yeah, YouTube's hurting us, but where else are we gonna go? Because look, our BitChute channel does nowhere near as good compared to our YouTube channel. Nowhere near as good. And it's not going to, because everyone's on YouTube. Everyone knows YouTube is where you go for videos. Your average Joe is not going to search out for BitChute. Only your like super loyal fans will do that.
Yeah, I mean, but it's going to have to. It's going to have to change. It's not. Will it change? It has to, because they're getting rid of you one way or the other. So it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're gonna wait. Are you on like, if you're gonna wait for Congress to do something, that's kind of not smart. I mean,
well, yeah, but here's the thing, like, people like, let's say, Gavin McGinnis and Milo, they're now behind paywalls. Alex Jones is off, he's on his website. What happens when they take his website away? What's he going to do?
They tried. He's still up. Like, no.
For now.
He had to,
for now.
He had to. Well, no. They're not going to be. They're not going to be able to now because he's made it the most self-reliant website. He used to be like, they screwed with him. And here's the thing. And here was the thing. Like, okay, so they screwed with him as much as they possibly could, but he adapted, right? He adapted, and like even Microsoft, they were like they bumped him off, and what did he do? He moved his stuff onto something else.
That's
right?
true,
and he made it stuff right. So what they did. I mean, really, what they did was actually because Alex Jones's followers are not going away. They're gonna be there.
His loyal base is not going away.
He's got a lot of loyal base.
I bet he doesn't have as much viewers as he used to.
I mean, that depends on. Well, yeah. I mean, my guess is, he might not have like the views that he used to have, but the loyal listeners, they're not going. And he's got a lot of them.
Yeah, I still think it hurts these people.
He had like look. When his app went up on Apple, he had like 5 million downloads. Like, come on.
But you can't get the app now.
He's doing fantastic. And he moved his stuff to what was it? There's one the banned video or something like that. He found a way to circumvent it, right? All you do is go to banned video, put it up on your iPhone, and it's pretty much the same thing, right? Like he's found a way. Alex Jones, I give him, look, I don't agree with him on everything, and I think he's got a lot of crazy stuff going on in some of what he says, but I'll tell you what, boy, his team are intelligent.
He does have smart crew.
The way that he's been attacked and the way he's just been able to adapt, and like I'm just like, wow.
What do you think?
Incredible.
What do you think of this, Alex?
No, I wasn't really paying attention.
You busy RuneScaping?
Nah, just kind of let you guys rant for a little bit. But, shoot, what were you guys talking about?
Well, basically, my argument was that, government's going to have to step in because, a lot of these platforms, especially like YouTube, that's where people go. Your average Joe isn't going to search out on these, like, weird, obscure websites for, like, Alex Jones stuff. His loyal people will, but the average Joe won't, and so his views are going to get hit. He's going to hurt. He's not going to get the same views as he normally does. And I don't want to say he's going to become irrelevant, but he's more pushed into a corner. And Phil is saying that, like, well, they sort of find a way around it, and his loyal base is still going to follow him. That's kind of what matters.
I do think that at some point the government's going to have to be involved because they are colluding actively to remove certain people from platforms. Like what you mentioned earlier with Alex Jones, like he's especially been there's been possibly semi-monopolistic practices done by Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all these different services, and they're all within like 100 square miles of each other in California. That's where all these, well, for the most part, where they're all kind of hosted. And like I'm surprised like no one's trying to take him to court over, because like Alex Jones was removed within 7 days from all these platforms, including LinkedIn. Yeah, which that's just really egregious. Like he didn't post any content there really, but they kicked him off of there. So I mean,
and the other thing to keep in mind too is that his loyal listeners are going to follow him, but his influence is what gets killed by the censorship, and these people know that because you'll see an Alex Jones tweet or an Alex Jones video that you normally wouldn't see if it wasn't becoming, popular, people were sharing it. It kills that sort of effect, the ripple effect.
Yeah, it does make things very difficult, but I think at some point, some people are just gonna like probably stop using the internet, and then they're gonna end up like creating this whole other like network almost to go around it. And at that point, people are gonna be really freaking out because these people, they won't, they'll let anything go over there. They're creating this monster right now, and it's gonna, probably the next like 10 years really bite them in the butt when you have all these like people using these like dark web sort of technologies to go and like circumvent every sort of like normie internet. And that's probably what's going to happen, I think, personally. Like, whether or not these people do, like, if Congress does pass something, I doubt it's going to be effective. Like, but if they do end up passing something, it's not going to do anything, and they're probably going to still just, frequent these dark webs or, like, peer-to-peer networks or something. And I have a feeling it's going to have some interesting effects on the normies.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more real news.